To this story now, the UK is lifting a 3-year ban on controversial consulting firm Bain Company. It will now be allowed to bid for public sector contracts. The ban followed its role in the state capture corruption scandal here in South Africa. The UK says Bain has been cooperating and has acted to improve corporate governance. Let's discuss this now further with our UK correspondent, Chapman. Julia, good morning and thank you for joining us. Just take us through the reasons advanced for the lifting of the ban in greater detail.
Well, it was only a few months ago that Bain Company was accused of grave professional misconduct over its role in state capture in South Africa. It was found to have undermined the country's revenue agency in its consulting work for some of Jacob Zuma's allies, where it did some restructuring of the revenue agency. So a ban was introduced back in August here in the UK for Bain Company to bid for any state contracts here in this country. That has now been lifted, we understand, according to the Paymaster General of the UK. And at the time that the ban was introduced, the Cabinet Office Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg said that he trusted that after 3 years, which was the length of the ban, that Bain would have restored its reputation. Now, there is a different government in place here in the UK than there was at the time, and it has deemed that the reputation has been sufficiently restored already. The ban was a retroactive one. It went back to January last year, so it has been in place officially for just over 1 year. And in a statement, the Paymaster General said that Bain has welcomed the robust challenge to help ensure their corporate governance is of a consistently high standard. Bain hasn't really welcomed that challenge. It actually issued a legal review into it when the ban was introduced last year. That process will now no longer be necessary since the ban has been lifted anyway.
Now, Lord Peter Hain, who was, of course, the biggest advocate for the ban, hasn't held back on his criticism. He was quoted by Daily Maverick here in South Africa saying Bain has, in fact, used its ill-gotten gains to fund a campaign of fake apologies while secretly concealing evidence of its network of deceit. Are these sentiments shared by others, or there's just a majority of people welcoming this decision?
Well, it is certainly Lord Hain who has been the most vocal campaigner for a ban against Bain. He was instrumental in the ban being issued in the first place. He is insistent that Bain knowingly was involved in state capture. Bain has apologized for any wrongdoing that it has done, but it said that it was unwittingly caught up in the scandals in South Africa and did not do so knowingly. So it has been insistent that this is the right move, and it has welcomed the decision by the UK government this week, whereas Lord Hain has been incredibly critical of it. He has said that this is a very disappointing choice, having lobbied against it for quite some time. But the UK government seems satisfied that due diligence has been done, that a culture of transparency does exist, and that Bain can bid for state contracts once again. But crucially, the distinction is that the South African arm of Bain Company will still no longer be allowed to bid for contracts here. It is the global part of the company that will be.
All right. Julia, thank you very much for that update. That's our UK correspondent, Chapman. More news